everyone, Big Pauly back for a brand new video. Back for something a little bit different. I just wanted to have a little chat about what happened to me the last couple of weeks. Many of you may know, but I've been in hospital. Let me go back to when it all began. Some of you know that on Friday the 21st, we was called to William Harvey Hospital because Mama Bowman's breathing and respiratory and everything had taken a dive overnight. Previous to that, a couple of days beforehand, she was doing pretty well. But yeah, the doctors pulled us to one side and said that, mate, it's only another couple of hours. And yeah, we were there till late at night, but unfortunately, Mama Bowman passed away, which was really tough. And the next couple of days, I was kind of like handling it maybe okay, because it had kind of sunk in, but maybe I'd cried and emotional to start with. Although it's still been tough the last couple of days as well, especially with Mother's Day turning up. On Thursday the 5th of March, me and Papa Bowman decided to go to the funeral people, farriers in Dover, to the Chapel of Rest, to basically say goodbye to Mama Bowman. And we decided an open casket. Dad said, do you want an open casket or closed one? And I said, up to you. So he decided for an open casket, which was advised us that we shouldn't really by a few people. And both my auntie and my brother both had closed caskets, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, we went in there. There she was, laying in the coffin. She had a favourite Chris Young t-shirt on. You know, she looked like she was about to go to a concert. With her jeans as well. We're holding a photo of Bobby. And it looks like her, but it also didn't look like her. I can't explain it, because, you know, she'd passed away like 2 weeks beforehand. We were only in there for 10 minutes, if that. So it was a bit emotional. We decided to leave. You know, that was it. We'll go home. And walking down the road, and this is like on the High Street, London Road area of Dover, coming out of Dover towards like Canterbury Way, I started to feel dizzy and out of breath, and I had to lean against the wall, and I was gasping for trying to get some air. And I thought, okay, it's a panic attack. I felt like I was going to faint. So I kind of knew maybe it was a shock of seeing Mama Bowman like that. The next thing I knew, I was on the floor, laying on the soaking wet concrete floor of the pavement, with it absolutely raining down, trying to gasp for air. Apparently my dad had seen that I was falling down, and he managed to stop my head from hitting the concrete or hitting anything, which is good. Blimey, I don't think his reflexes were that good. Then again, he used to be a footballer. Yes. And I was just laying there. It's a very weird sensation, because I don't remember falling down. I don't remember going down onto the concrete, but apparently I didn't pass out. I didn't lose consciousness. And I was there. All I could see laying down was, I was laying on my side. I could just see people's legs going past, walking past, and people talking as I was trying to gasp for air. It was so difficult to gasp for air. And what happened then was people were all coming around. It took a little while to people realise, you know, that I was not going to be getting up. And people started putting blankets over me and sheets of plastic and that kind of stuff. And then all I saw when I looked up out my eye was like umbrellas going above, you know, because it was crapping it down. It was crapping it down, and I was getting wet. And then out of the blue, I don't know where she came from. Now this is this is not near any doctor's surgeries or dentists or anything like that. But out of the blue, there was a woman I could see out the corner of my eye, kind of like standing next to me. She had an oxygen tank and a mask, which she put over my head, so I was able to breathe. And it did make it a lot easier to breathe. Unfortunately, the oxygen tank ran out halfway while we were waiting for the ambulance. It took 45 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. That's possibly because maybe it had to come from Ashford or Margate, which is over 20 miles away, so maybe there wasn't one in the area. It's a good job it didn't happen now, because I don't know how long I would have had to wait for an ambulance, you know, with the virus and everything that's going around. So the ambulance people gave me didn't give me some oxygen because it's in the back of the the ambulance, but everybody gathered round. Being as of bigger stature, it took probably about 20 of them to try and pull me off the concrete. And as they pulled me up, because they said that I had to get up to get into the ambulance, and I got into the ambulance. I was laying on the stretcher on the concrete, and I felt like I was going to go again. I felt like I was just going to pass out. So they managed to get me into the back of the ambulance, get the oxygen on. They did all their bits and pieces, hooking me up, all that kind of stuff. And we got taken to William Harvey Hospital. And I was kind of feeling okay-ish on the way there, you know, because I had the oxygen on, so I was able to breathe a lot better and everything was becoming a lot clearer. When we got to William Harvey, they wheeled me down into the A&E. And I got taken to kind of like, not intensive care, but when they bring new patients in to assess them first, the assessment centre, all the beds all lined up and people in there for different reasons before they work out what's the matter with them and ship them to wherever they need to go. And that was on the evening of the Thursday, and I was still there. They were waiting for a room. They were waiting for a ward to send me to. I was on oxygen at that time. I had posted a couple of pictures. And I probably was in there for maybe 9 hours, I think, hooked up to oxygen, just waiting for somewhere to become available. And I got shipped off to the respiratory ward where I was still on oxygen. To go to the toilet, I mean, I did have one of those cardboard funnels. I think someone called it a cardboard willy funnel. Yes. But they didn't know the extent of what mobility I had. So one of the nurses, you know, I got out of bed, which was perfectly fine. Stood, you know, sitting on the bed, walking, getting up. And as I walked towards the toilet, I walked literally 5 feet and I felt like I was going to collapse. So we went straight back to the bed. I got assessed and everything like that. And it was determined, I had an x-ray as well, and it was determined that I had a massive pulmonary embolism, which was brought on by DVT, which is deep vein thrombosis. And I had 2 massive clots on my lungs, which was obviously causing me to not be able to breathe. So I was taken into the CCU, which is the coronary care unit, wheeled into this subsection of a little room. You know, there's other patients in there, but I was in like this bigger room, hooked up. I had to lay there, hooked up, cables, fistulas coming out of everywhere, all over here. And in order to get rid of the blood, the clotting, they had to inject a blood clotting buster. They call it blood clotting buster, I think they call it. Basically, it goes in and it just explodes everything. So, you know, I mean, I could have been on tablets like warfarin and other blood thinning tablets, but it would have been a longer process. This was actually life-threatening. This is what it says on my discharge letters: life-threatening, massive pulmonary embolism, and they used the word massive about 3 times. So I think they wanted to drum that in. But yeah, so I was laying there for a good part of maybe 24 hours. I can't really remember. So a good part of a day. The nurses would come in every couple of hours because they had to monitor my stats and they had to make sure there was no bleeding. They were pumping me full of this really intense blood thinning medicine that actually thinned my blood out so much. But one of the dangers of this blood clotting medicine is bleeding. So they had to maintain, you know, looking at the stats, and they would have countermeasures in case there was any bleeding. And I'm also susceptible to bruising. So, I mean, I was laying there, all of a sudden, right on here, that a great big lump started coming up, and it was all purple all over there. You may have seen it in one of my videos. At the moment, it's kind of like yellow, as you can see. That's where all of this was bruised, and it's all like coming down now. But I am still susceptible to bruising now. So if I bang myself, it's going to come up with a bruise. You should see my stomach. I'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, I was on there for a good part of a day, maybe. And then I was shipped off back to the respiratory ward. And then stayed there for a couple of days. This was on the 5th, so I went into the wards on the 6th. Friday the 6th, and I was in various wards. I was then shipped to another ward, King's Ward, which is actually the same ward that my mum was in. You know, she was in King's Female, I was in King's Male. It's literally like 20 feet away from where she passed away, and I spent my, you know, remaining days there. And because a lot of the patients in there were much more less mobile and needed a lot more care of attention, I kind of felt like, well, I'm just like a third wheel here, you know, because at that time, at that point, I was receiving Clexane injections and also warfarin tablets, you know, to keep my blood thin enough so that it doesn't clot. And all these people were having like bed baths, and they were having these hoists, pulling them up off the bed so that they could be lowered down onto chairs. And there was me flipping through magazines, getting up, walking around and going to the toilet and having a shower. So I know I had to be there because, you know, they couldn't discharge me at that time. So yeah, the service in the hospital was absolutely fantastic. The nurses were incredible. I mean, the nurses now, what they're going to have to go through with this, you know, COVID-19. But for the attention that I got in there, it was just absolutely fantastic. What the NHS, absolutely fantastic. Cups of tea all the time. Meals, really nice meals. I'd always laughed before because people had always said, oh, hospital meals is like a piece of plastic or a bit of rubber, you know. But the meals that I had in hospital were really nice. They were really nice and really tasty. So I got no, you know, nothing to say about that. I even had a couple of roast dinners, you know, with vegetables, roast potatoes, Yorkshire pud, bloody lovely, rice pudding. So really nice. So I was hoping at that point to get out around about the 12th of March, and it was deemed that my INR, which is, I think it stands for international normalized ratio or something, it's your blood thinning and blood level and that kind of thing, was too low. In order for my blood not to clot, the doctors wanted it between 2 and 3, and at that point it was only 1.1, so I had to still take the Clexane injections, these 2 needles that I have to inject into my stomach twice a day, and also take warfarin tablets as well. It did, it did go up a little bit. They increased the warfarin. It went up to 1.6, which I thought, oh, this is going in the right direction. And then I was let out, which was on Friday the 13th. Oh, God, Friday the 13th. Yes, and just took it easy and everything. And, every couple of days I've had to go back to hospital. First of all, we started going to William Harvey, to the, I can't remember the name of the ward. I can't remember the actual name of it, but I had to go in there, had blood test, and then make another appointment, and they wanted me to go in there like every day. Blimey, we'd been going to Ashford for weeks because Mama Bowman had been in there, so everybody was getting fed up of keep going to the hospital at Ashford, but we had to do it. And then of course all my records were sent to, like, the NHS. They go out to everywhere. I phoned up Canterbury Hospital, and I was able to get into the haemophilia. I think it's haemophilia clinic over there, and we've been going over there for the last week. Basically, what they do, they test my blood, and they can tell there and then with the little machines what my INR level is. And it's stayed steady at like 1.3 and 1.2, so it still needs to go up past 2. So they've increased my warfarin tablets to like 6 milligrams and 7 milligrams a day, 1 tablet a day, to try and get that to to boost up to get past the 2. And I'm still having to take the injections because that helps balance it out. Once my INR level is 2 or above, then I can ditch the injections. But at the moment, my stomach looks like it's actually been through the rounds with Mike Tyson, because even though they do show you how to inject yourself with the needles by like trying to grab an inch of skin, which is not difficult, there's very little places now that are unbruised. So I'm trying to find new little spaces to inject myself. So we keep going back there. I found out the other day that my local GP is now doing warfarin tests, so that might help. I kind of feel more trusted with the clinic at Canterbury at the moment because it's bigger. They've got proper waiting rooms. They've got all the equipment. It's all set up. It's much more of a clinic, much more of a hospital clinic, because it is part of the hospital, part of the clinic, rather than going to a GP surgery. But I think what we can do, once I get my levels to 2 and above, then there'll be regular testing probably every 3 to 4 weeks to make sure my INR level stays between 2 and 3. We can probably just go down to the GP, down to where my mum used to go, and just get it tested down there. But at the moment, I'm happy going over to Canterbury. It takes like 20 minutes to get there. We go straight in, even before our appointment time. We're seen and then we're out. We were so quick the other day that we put the car parking ticket in and it said 0. So, we were less than half an hour, which was really good. So all I need to do is continue taking the warfarin at the moment, and keep injecting until my INR level gets between 2 and 3, and that's the daily process. Because they use this clot busting medicine to basically get rid of the clots, my recovery time was a lot quicker. If I'd just taken tablets, it could have taken 6 months or longer, and I might have not been able to do anything. But at the moment, my energy levels are 100%. My lungs, my breathing is 100%. They said, when they tested me before I left the hospital. And over the last couple of days, I've got less and less exhausted after walking distances. So I can walk longer distances now And I feel just like as I did before it happened. So I've got no problems there. The only problem, of course, is, we've got to keep minimal contact because the whole virus thing, and because I'm probably classed as at risk because of what's happened, I need to stay away from as many people as possible. So we're literally going to the hospital, we're going to the clinic, and that's it, nothing else. I did have a little walk down the road to my shop and back the other day. Nobody around, so that was good, as long as you avoid people. But the virus is not helping because, all the people that have got underlying problems and type 1 diabetes and respiratory problems, they're the ones that are at risk. Even Lulu's severely at risk because she's had transplants, and apparently the government are sending out over 1 million letters to people that have had transplants and underlying problems like that, advising them, that's it, cut off all contact. You can't even walk out your house, that kind of thing. So I should imagine Lulu will probably get a letter from either her GP or the government. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much up to speed of where I am now. I can't say anything's changed at the moment. We've got another appointment tomorrow on Monday over Canterbury at about 9:30 in the morning, or 9:20, I think it is. So we'll probably be back by 10 because, they're really good over there and they're so quick. But that's really it. You're up to speed now. But it was scary. It was scary. And when I go back and think about it now, it's like it could have been a lot worse, because I think that when I went to see Mama Bowman and we had an open casket, I think maybe the added shock of seeing her maybe accelerated this happening now. If we'd had a closed casket, we might have just gone back to the car, got in the car, a day or two might have gone by, and I could have been driving down the motorway and it could have happened then. It was going to happen, whichever way. But I think maybe that added shock kind of like accelerated it. And I felt like I was in the right place at the right time, because everybody all came together. All the people gathered around me, covering me. The lady with the oxygen tank. If I'd been anywhere else, there wouldn't have been a lady with an oxygen tank or an oxygen mask, which helped. And the ambulance, everybody was in kind of like in the right place. It's like a chain of events that these people are here to do this so that mixes with this person. It's kind of like a chain reaction to get me to where I am today, because it could have been a hell of a lot worse, and it was actually life-threatening. They did actually state it was life-threatening. So if it had happened anywhere else without that oxygen, without the people that were surrounding me and helping me, we could have had the worst. We could have had the worst. Oh God, that would have been terrible for my dad, wouldn't it? Having to bury 2 family members within 2 weeks. Oh my God. But I am really thankful. I'm really thankful that what happened, because it also did open my eyes as well. Because obviously my weight doesn't help. So it's kind of like a wake-up call. I think Mama Bowman was sending me a signal. Maybe she, for where she is, wherever she is, maybe she saw this is what's going to happen eventually, or something worse will happen eventually. So I'm going to put this in place here, which will change your life down the road. That's how I see it. I've never been a big spiritual person, I do believe that there is, a God or some kind of higher being, and that something happens to us, when we go. But it's never something I've really thought of and talked about before. And the more time, I had off, and the more time I had spare to myself, even in hospital, thinking to myself, you know, I was piecing all these pieces together. Like, why was that person there? That person there led me to the ambulance. The ambulance, all these people in the wards were there for a reason. So it's very weird. I know some people will say it was just coincidence, it's just how it happened. But from my point of view, that happened at exactly that point where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to fall down and pass out at that point. Because the outcome could have been completely different, and the circumstances, I wouldn't have been involved and interacted with the people later on if it had been anywhere else other than there. So I think Mama Bowman was looking out for me. So it's a special day today. It's Mother's Day, but I really do miss Mum. But I'm kind of happy because I'm here. I am recovering slowly, but I've got my energy levels. You know, me and my dad are coping, and we're just plodding along with everybody else. The only thing we can't do is go out, other than to the clinic. And I do miss my Blu-ray hunting. I really do miss my Blu-ray hunting. But apparently a lot of the non-essential shops are going to be closed soon, so they'll probably be closing all like CEX and all the other shops. I think CEX will be the worst place to go at the moment. You imagine how many hands have been fiddling about with those cases on the shelves. But yeah, take it one day at a time. It's nice and sunny out. It's been sunny yesterday. Apparently it's going to be sunny tomorrow. It's just that no one can go anywhere. Other than the people that are hoarded down to the seaside towns on Saturday. Even the amusement arcades were open. They've had thousands of people turning up in Blackpool, Brighton and Wales. People are not listening to the government. They are not listening to what they're being told. So I think the government needs to take drastic action and just lock down the whole country. And bloody fine people, arrest people if they're out and they shouldn't be out. But yeah, we'll take it one day at a time. I will give you an update. I'll give you an update in a couple of days with how my INR level is and that kind of thing. But I hope everybody is staying safe. If you have got any kind of underlying condition, whether it be diabetes, heart, kidney, anything like that, really be careful. Don't go out if you have to go out. Don't go out. You know, stay away from as many people as you can, even family members, you know, like cousins or aunts and other family members, even if they don't live too close. Use FaceTime, or just phone them. But if you don't have to, and that's the thing that they've talked about with Mother's Day as well. A lot of people want to go and see their mums, but a lot of mothers are in their, late years, 70s or 80s. They're the people that are going to be more vulnerable than anybody. So I know it's Mother's Day. Don't go and see your mother. Just maybe phone her or FaceTime or anything like that. But stay safe. Stay safe and stay away from crowded areas. I know all the pubs and restaurants and places like that are closed, but it's for the good. It's for the good of the country. The NHS is bursting at the moment, but they have freed up lots of private nurses now and doctors, and we've got something like extra 20,000 beds or something. So that helps. But it could get a lot worse. Just looking at what's happened in Italy. If we get, if it gets to the level of how it is in Italy, then there's problems, because at the moment the health service in Italy is virtually collapsing, and we don't want that. But people are not listening in the country. People are just going about, oh, it's only a cold, don't overblow it. You'll know it if you get it. Shit. I heard that some bloke described it as like trying to breathe and people cutting into his lungs with glass. Don't think any of us want that. So self-isolate if you have to. Just stay away from people. What a world we live in now, eh? This is going to be drastically different. However long this takes, I think the world is going to be a very different world once we come out on the other side. Wow. Anyway, I'm just looking at my shelves full of Blu-rays. I've got enough to watch. I still need to exercise, you know, to keep my legs going. But so I can't stay seated for like 6 or 7 hours at a time. You know, I've got to get up every hour, have a walk around. But we just plod along. We do the best we can and see what happens. Hope everything turns out good in the end. I'll tell you what, once this is all over and everything's out, people are going to be going everywhere. People are going to be going on holiday. They're going to be going to, it's going to be crowded everywhere. Can you imagine what would happen if this was still like this at Christmas? Holy crap. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling on. So you know where I am. You know what my current situation is, but I will keep everybody updated. And I want to thank everybody that's, you know, either a subscriber or even a non-subscriber that's watched my videos, sent me messages, not just for me, but, you know, sympathy messages for Mama Bowman as well. I've had a few cards from people, so thank you very much for that. And basically just anybody that's even tweeted, well, I don't use Twitter, do I? Facebooked or Instagrammed and commented on my YouTube videos. So thank you very much for that. It really has helped the last couple of weeks seeing everybody's messages. So I hope you all stay safe. And I'm sure the next video will be a much more cheery video. I've got so many What Flick Will Pauly Pick and Poundland Bin videos to come. They'll be bursting out your ears. And some other videos as well. Some collection videos. So until the next video, stay safe everybody. Bye.